Hello, everyone. We're back doing manga reviews.
Yes, we are.
Sorry, Berserk. We abandoned Berserk. Get us to 100 subs, and we'll make a
Yeah,
Berserk
yeah.
continuation.
This is a good time to say if we get 100 subs, we'll continue it.
Yeah, for sure. So make sure to subscribe. But anyways, somewhat recently, I guess, Steel Ball Run trailer has come out for
Mm.
the new anime, which I thought was never gonna happen.
Yeah, you decided that you were so confident that it wouldn't happen. Actually,
No, I was completely convinced. There was no bone in my body that was like no part of my brain held anything for like Steel Ball Run. I was just like, I'm just happy with the manga is existing, I guess. Like I was actually more hyped over the physical releases and I didn't even think about
I
like an
know
anime production at all.
you were so hyped about those. The English versions, yes.
Oh, I get to hold them in my hand and I get to read them, not in Japanese. Holy shit. But yeah, so as per usual, I have to put Ethan on to the good shit. So I've read Steel Ball Run and you haven't.
I haven't read it at all.
Wow, that's such a shame. I can't believe it.
You're the only reason why I read manga.
Uh,
The only two I've read is because of you.
I put you on peak every time.
That's
So
true.
I don't
That's
want to hear
true. That's true.
anything. But yeah, the anime is releasing, so we kind of want this to be a new series where we're just gonna go through the manga. We're gonna try to get through as much of the manga as we can before the first episode comes out.
Yeah.
And, we're planning on making videos on the actual anime release as well. So
Stay tuned. And if you don't mind, watch these if you
Mhm.
don't mind the spoilers. And you also want to get the spoilers before the hopefully weekly release.
I know there's some freaks out there that like need spoilers before they watch something
It's
for some
true.
reason.
It's true. Some people do. And that's why we're here.
We're here to spoil you, or to just like be one of the only pieces of Steel Ball Run content because there's not much, and
There is
there's going to
not.
be a flood coming soon. So,
Dude, we got to get there before them. We got to get there faster.
but let's actually go through the manga, pay the manga respects before it gets abandoned when the anime comes out. I love this part; it's my favorite, and I hope you will feel the same way or not.
We'll find out.
It's probably going to be the same because
we are an echo chamber. That's what we are.
yes, Tainted Meat, the best echo chamber.
Tainted Meat, the echo chamber podcast, bro.
All right. Okay, let's start off with the first chapter. So it starts out immediately showing a native tribe, which immediately establishes the time period. And I really like this start. But anyways, starts with a native tribe discussing a punishment for someone in the tribe called Sandman. And right after this, it cuts to the tribe hunting down Sandman in a fucking awesome panel.
Dude, look at how he's around. Look at his mouth.
They look like they're about to murder him too. They have like their axes and shit.
Dude, yeah, oh my, fucking machetes over here too.
And like immediately, like Sandman is like the MVP of the first volume.
I know.
And like his character design, like too, it's just kind of peak.
That's just most of JoJo characters, to be honest.
Some character designs in Part 7 are so good. During this whole sequence, Sandman's running away, and it gives like so much exposition and like so little time
Yeah.
without being abrasive. So it's like only about 13 pages, and we already see Sandman, we see him being an outcast from his tribe, how he implements like white people's culture and like how he runs, which is, different from their tribe, which will come into play a little bit later. It teases stands a little bit as well, which will come into the future, and I love how stands are handled in this part.
Dude, I do want to talk about the stands, but once we're done.
Yeah, and just so you guys know, Steel Ball Run, you can read on its own, like as its own thing.
Mhm.
It originally wasn't a JoJo's part, like it wasn't called JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I would recommend reading or watching the other parts, because not only are they just good, but there's some references in here that you're going to miss.
Of course.
And it's not like as satisfying if you don't, see his evolution as a mangaka. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, back to the story. During his escape, his sister finds him and just like straight up smacks the shit out of him, which I thought like was super funny. Like it wasn't like a small smack or anything. It was like his whole body fucking went flying.
Dude, she just fucking beat the shit out of him.
Yeah. So yeah, she just beats the fuck out of him, and he basically explains his side of the story and how he thinks that they need to learn the white man's culture in order to like beat them and take back their land.
I think I think that's just like it's so interesting starting off with this character who you immediately learn he's outcasted. He's not like the rest. He's literally being ran, like he has to run away because he's keeping books of knowledge from other culture. And he's smart enough to realize like, hey, the only way we're going to keep this land is if we adapt and learn their cultures to use for us. And the fact that they're not doing that is just an immediate sign of their land is going to be taken no matter what because they're too stubborn to refuse. And it's cool to like immediately empathize with Sandman.
He makes him so likable off the bat because he's like the only one in his tribe who's actually there to like save them.
Gives him a drive
And
that like the rest don't have.
I know, it's like immediately making a character so likable who's not even a main character. So yeah, basically Sandman just tells his sister that they need to play the money game because that's the white man's game. And in order to do that, it basically comes to this conclusion because he takes his sister into a cave where we get to see like these ball holes on the walls.
Yeah, there's like perfectly circular indents.
Yeah, which is going to be from another character a little bit later on who was just happening to practice some weird, technique.
Yeah, turning
And
mountains
man,
into sponges.
the paneling in this first chapter is also just so good.
I know.
Like when they go into the cave and just like the perspective of them looking at it is just like I can't describe it. How it's hard to describe like how good the paneling is because I don't know as much as Araki does about paneling,
Exactly.
It's just so effective.
Very dynamic.
Yeah, that's something I love about his style is like it's so like energetic.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think like what the JoJo anime does really well is like do the editing style.
Yeah.
And the manga feels like you're watching editing even though it's just panels because it's just so like electric. It's hard to describe, but it's super cool. But in that cave, they find a newspaper that talks about a national race where the winner will get $50 million. Not in their day and age money. That's like $50 million now.
Yeah, translated for us.
Yeah, because I think the translators just didn't want to like
do the math,
like have like a random ass number, the winning prize. But anyways, 50 million in our day and age money.
A lot of money.
And this is just basically the start to Sandman's journey of leaving his tribe to like go on this race and take back the money he needs to buy his land back.
Mm-hmm.
Which is cool. It's like, immediately we get established to this character and so much exposition so quickly, but it doesn't feel rushed at all. I kind of love this introduction.
It's nice to see like he's having this drive to use the white man's culture to better the tribe and they're not listening. And having this discussion saying that he's going to be leaving and he won't return to the village to his sister, showing this newspaper that says he could win or he could buy the whole plains if he wins. It gives such immediately I'm like, I don't even care about the JoJo that we see. I don't know any other characters. I want this dude to win. He deserves it,
Why can't this be the main JoJo?
I know. Like he's immediately already my favorite character and I have only met one character pretty much.
It's tough. His introduction is so good that like it's hard not to like him more than the rest of the characters.
I know.
It is like an interesting choice to show the natives' perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Like first at the beginning of the story, because there's gonna be a lot of thematic stuff like about like American culture.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's something people don't talk about with this part is that just how much it is about like the American culture for better and worse.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll go into that a little bit in this next scene where we cut to a fancy room where a worker confronts the figurehead of the race, who is Steven Steele, the man with the worst haircut maybe in all of JoJo.
That haircut's fire. Look at him in his little chair.
Genuinely can't tell if it's like a hat or not. It
looks like a leaf placed on his head.
Looking lily pad. It's so bad, honestly. But the worker basically just comes up to him and tells him they have complaints about foreigners who are acting like, animals in quotations. And
I love the immediate racism that happened.
Yeah, we cut from like the Native Americans who are trying to take back their land and then cut to just white people just being racist. And basically, like, what Stephen Steele says to him is he literally says in quotes, "If they don't knock it off, get rid of them. I don't give a damn. It's a part of if it's a part of their culture or religion. As long as they're on my beach, they follow my rule." Which is I kind of love that because don't get my words wrong here. It's just an immediate contrast to what we've just like seen before. And the future racers we're going to get to see are all from different backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to see an African American, we're going to see a British person, we're going to see, an Italian person later on. So it's like all these different cultures essentially playing this game set up by a bunch of companies, which is basically owned by a bunch of rich white people. And they're playing their game to, try to make it big.
Yep.
Which is American Dream. American Dream much,
Exactly. And it is interesting because like in the scene where, he's being racist, he's like it's also told that there was meant to only be like 500 contestants. So honestly, it was meant probably for most of the people to even, just to be in America. They didn't expect like probably super worldwide, but it ended up being roughly 2,000 people, which is way
crazy.
over 4 times more, I don't know. I just like this race is a fucking big deal.
The race itself is almost just like America encapsulated. It's just like all these different cultures coming together to play the game that a bunch of rich people made hundreds of years ago, or like 100 years ago. But we continue. The worker leaves, and we get a kind of a funny scene where
Kinda.
Steven Steele instantly just starts crying into his like wife's arms, just due to the extreme pressure that the race has, and it being incredibly successful probably doesn't help that. But honestly, even though he's like a little racist, I kind of feel for him here. I would not want to be the face of like the biggest thing in the world.
Yeah, the current biggest thing right now.
But yeah, he goes on and he does a conference, basically just explaining the rules of the race. This like section is a bit exposition heavy, but I can't fault it for that because it kind of all makes sense in universe.
It's important to address this stuff too.
Yeah, everything that's explained is important, and it's all would be explained.
So pretty much we're now at the press conference, and there's a bunch of cameras, and there's news reporters, and we learn that the race is the first North American transcontinental horseback race, a race that starts in San Diego and ends in New York, which is I think it says roughly 3,700 miles.
It's across all the states, pretty much.
Yeah, all the states. There's a nice little image of it, a little map that I'll throw on screen, and we also learn that like how this is running. There's a bunch of major financial backers, and one of them is the Speedwagon Oil Company. He doesn't die between universes.
Yes.
He's just as important. Well, okay, he's a lot less important, but he's just as important. But yeah, so this race is unique compared to others because it doesn't only require horses. We learned that one racer is using an automobile, which is, I want to say this is new for its time. Yeah, and so there's some basic rules, being that someone asks if firearms are allowed, and the rule is yes, they are, for protection, and also that you are not allowed to change horses mid-race.
Which is crazy, but,
You have to take care of your horse. I want to say that is most of the rules, but we do get introduced to some of the like anticipated front runners, being Mountain Tim, Avdol. I don't know how to pronounce that, but
it's just Avdol reincarnated.
Yeah, it's pretty much Avdol. Dot Han and Diego Brando. Two of those sound a little familiar.
Yeah. One thing I do want to note from this conference is, they call it, this race embodies the pioneering spirit. And I just, like, again, with the whole, like, American Dream thing, I just love how the race is essentially anyone can join the race, right? Any nationality, doesn't matter sex, anything. You can join the race and you can prove yourself through, like, accomplishing and, making your way through.
Exactly,
you have a chance to prove yourself. But yeah, no, I think it's cool. Like, even in the front runners, you got Mountain Tim, who is just American man.
Yeah, pretty much.
You got, Avdol, who is Egyptian. What's his name? Dot Han?
Dot Han.
He's a descendant of Genghis Khan. And then, you get a British horse jockey. So it's like, it's cool. I don't know. This chapter just gets me like hyped.
This chapter, I mean, although it's like, it is pretty exposition heavy, and I know we're only lengthening it by yapping about it more. But the diversity in the cast, and it just like, it actually feels like the start of a race during like the like actual press conferences where they do hype you up. Like it feels like that, like actually. Like I'm getting hyped about learning the people that are going to be in the race. I'm getting hyped about the story of Sandman and Steven Steele and what the race, how the race is going to work and how it's going to take place. I'm getting excited about all this.
The thing I love about it being a race and how it's set up is, especially with the new anime coming out, you could genuinely be like, place your bet on who you think's going to win.
True.
It's setting up an actual sports event, and I love that because you can like engage with it the same way. Because us reading it, we are in a way spectators of what's happening.
Yeah.
And it is JoJo, so it's unpredictable, and it's exciting.
Yeah.
And as the conference ends, one of the reporter asks about the age of his wife, who, according to them, is 14 years old. And Steele just shuts down that question and ends the conference. So yeah, that's pretty
Thank
interesting.
you,
Side
Japan.
note.
Thank you.
Hey, the 1890s,
Yeah, let's not talk about what they did back then.
Honestly, I'm surprised they even brought that up at all in the 1890s. I feel like that might have been a social norm. But the scene ends and we get an introduction to another character. He was like a minor character.
Yeah. Not
we won't see in the future. It's only Gyro Zeppeli. So we see this man who walks up to pay for his cost, because the cost is $1,200, I believe.
Yep.
Which is kind of hefty, but they get food and stuff like throughout the race so they can sustain themselves. So I guess it makes sense. And we get to see the first panel of Gyro, and it's one of the best character designs in all of JoJo, in my opinion.
I love how Gyro looks. I don't like not only how he acts later on, but like just appearances alone, I knew he was going to be easily one of my favorites.
You get to know everything you need to know about him from his character design.
Also, I want to point out that like there is a panel a little bit before where as he's signing his name on the paper, it shows this ball that is in his gun holster.
Oh yeah.
Interesting. That's all I'm saying.
Steel ball?
Whoa. Huh.
Wonder what that could be. But yeah, we get the full body shot of him after that. And like just some things I want to know about his character design is that like at first glance it's just like a super cool design, super detailed. But if you look a little closer, you can see like the goofier elements of him. Like he has a belt, and his belt buckle literally has 2 fingers pointing at his cock. And he smiles, and on his teeth he has metal teeth or gold teeth that say "Go Go Zeppeli." And you're like, oh my god, this guy is an absolute cornball.
Dude, the way he laughs too. Yo ho ho.
I love Gyro. He's literally everything from this introduction. You know who he is.
Exactly.
It's insane. Peak character design. He honestly might have the most cornball energy out of like any character I've seen in fiction. Like we'll see as the part goes on, but he's goofy.
Okay.
So while he pays, he ends up being $20 short, and it's because a thief stole that like as he was putting his money on the counter. And then we get to see, Gyro demonstrates why pickpocketing isn't an issue in America, because he immediately he uses the steel balls pretty much, and he crushes them down on his knees. So it's like a little hint at the power. I do find it funny though how he asked the clerk if he can get some kind of discount before he goes back to the goes back to the criminal and says, okay, no, give me back my $20. I just thought that was kind of funny.
I love the fact that he was, if he could get a discount, he probably wasn't gonna do anything crazy to that thief.
He would have probably just let him go with it.
I know.
Which is aura, honestly. But yeah, that's pretty much the end of the chapter.
Okay, first thoughts, it's a lot. You get a lot of stuff happening in this chapter, and it's probably the longest chapter in terms of words that we've gone through. But it's such a good introduction. It's my favorite introduction to a JoJo part, I want to say. And it's mostly because, keep in mind, so far we haven't even seen the main JoJo.
Yeah.
This is all new people. And so I think it's cool that we're getting so much. We're basically learning all these side characters before we're going to be introduced to the main character, so that we have such a spread dynamic of who we like before the race starts. I don't know.
Yeah,
I just think it's unique. It's way different from his previous parts, and I like it. I like the difference.
I completely agree. That's one thing I love about Steel Ball Run is all the characters are fighting for their own goals,
Hmm.
separate from each other, but it just genuinely makes you like such this array of characters. And yeah, moving forward, we're gonna get introduced to a couple more. And honestly, this first chapter to me, the thing I like about it most is just it's so confident. This guy, Araki, he rebooted his entire series and he makes the first chapter to the next part and he's like, you don't even have to see the main JoJo. And the setup is just so like unique, but it's so well done. Also, side note, so it's called the Steel Ball Run race.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's supposed to be a riff on a race that actually happened called the Cannonball Run. So you think Steel Ball Run, and you think it's just referencing Gyro, but no, it's actually probably referencing Steven Steele, and it's just kind of a coincidence. And I never knew that until I saw that fun fact somewhere.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But yeah,
All right, so chapter 2 starts introducing a new character who is named Poco Loco. He is just resting on the grass, looking up, counting clouds instead of, helping work with his grandfather. His grandpa confronts him, and Poco Loco tells him about how he went and got his fortune read by a fortune teller who told him he will have the best luck of his life for the next couple months. You see his grandpa, he's disappointed. I don't think he really likes this fortune teller too much, but he mentions an offer to plow a new field and mention that he even got Poco Loco a raise, paying $1,200. That number is important. But yeah, Poco Loco hears the raise, and at first he wasn't gonna help plow, but he checks the newspaper that is underneath him, and it reveals the Steel Ball Run enter fee, which is exactly $1,200. So maybe this fortune teller is right. That is some extreme luck.
I do want to say that the fortune teller is another reference, like another character reference. She's, I think, supposed to be Enya from part 3.
Yeah.
The like old hag that worked for Dio.
Yeah, she has a very similar look for sure. But yeah, we instantly see like this character is like very carefree and doesn't really. He seems like kind of like I don't know. I don't really root for this guy in the race because he's so carefree and he's kind of not thinking for anyone but himself.
I mean, like,
he's funny
if
though.
he got the money, he'd probably help his family. But the thing is, like, he's definitely more of a chaotic element added to the mix. You don't like hate him during the race, but you do like you don't want him to win.
I do root against him.
He's lucky and lazy, which I actually really like.
But yeah, so we cut back to Gyro with the thief from the previous chapter, watching as the sheriffs are like apprehending the thief. Gyro starts to walk away, mentioning that the race is starting in 2 days, and you can tell if you look at his face, you can tell he's full of excitement about this. When the thief starts shouting at him and making like a whole big scene, a big deal, suddenly the thief pulls out a gun on Gyro, and right before he can do anything, the sheriffs handle him again, letting the thief just kind of continue to threaten and yell at him, saying that he will stalk him and ruin the race for him. Gyro then tells the sheriffs to give back the gun to the thief. By the way, bold, but this is also very American media. Yeah, but give back the gun to the thief to partake in a classic Western duel.
Yes.
We also, I also put this in my notes, but we also get this cool moment of just fucking Gyro Aura farming, looking like Death from Puss in Boots, saying, "Pick it up."
I do I love the respect that is shown to the Western genre in this part, because it just basically takes classic scenarios, but they like twist it with so much creativity.
I know it's creative while still playing on a very classic trope. But yeah, so chaos erupts around and nearby as these two are about to start their duel, when we see this wheelchair man, this wheelchair young man pushing through the crowd, trying to see what's happening.
That might be the most unflattering first panel of a character in all of JoJo. He looks like a 5-year-old
He
in that
does.
first panel.
Yeah, and the way he speaks too, like if you just imagine like a 5-year-old's voice, like, guys, what is it? Out of the way! Like he's so whiny. But yeah, we cut back to Gyro's duel, and the thief pulls out his gun. Only it's too slow, as Gyro's steel ball is already deep into his arm, spinning like fast and hard into it, breaking his arm like Uzumaki style until his gun ends up pointing at his own head and he fires.
Awesome.
Insane. That's such a cool scene. Like words don't even justify it. You have to read it. You have to look at the panels, bro. But yeah, so as we see Gyro start to walk away, we see the guy in the wheelchair push his way through the crowd to reach him, begging to see another look at the steel ball. And once he catches up to Gyro, he reaches for the ball, and when he touches it, his legs jerk his body forward, and then the chapter ends. Only by telling us that this is Johnny Joestar, the JoJo of the part. And I fucking love Johnny Joestar for being this is the most weird JoJo that we've gotten. Like, okay, part 1, part 2, part 3, we get fucking buff JoJos. Part 4, we start getting a new style of JoJo. Part 5, we get Giorno, he's skinny. Part 6, we get a woman. Part 7, we get a disabled dude. Like, we are going far from the first couple parts.
So badass, dude. It is funny how Araki used to kind of rely on the power fantasy, but it's just he's completely twisted it on its head.
I know.
And just have someone whose legs can't work during an entire part of JoJo, mind you, which is like a battle manga. It's insane and so bold, but I love it. Before we get into chapter 3, I do, because it's going to focus on Johnny a little bit, I want to give the context for people who haven't read or watched previous parts.
Okay.
So for part 1, which is around the same time period, and you know how there's kind of counterparts in this new reboot, the original main character, his name wasn't Johnny, but it was Jonathan, which is the same name,
pretty much the same.
And Jonathan was this British guy who came from a rich family, and he was learned how to be a gentleman, and he was pure good hero man. And I just want to say that for context, because it's interesting how Araki kind of approaches that again in this, new part. Anyways, the new chapter starts, and we get just this really cool image of Johnny and Gyro.
I wanted to point this out as well. Dude, look at this. This is such a good image.
I want this as a poster.
Yep, me too.
It's actually fire. And Araki, again, just proves that he should color his own manga, because I love how it's just golden brownish.
Yeah.
With green highlighting the two, and then right below them you see other horse racers, and they're in red.
He understands color theory so well, and I fucking love it, dude.
I know. Well, actually getting into the story. So it starts with Johnny kind of reflecting on why he came to the race, and he essentially goes into a narration going over his life. And basically, he was born into wealth. He has basically been a horse jockey since he was 5 years old, and he's just kind of loved it throughout his entire life. And by the time he was 16, he was famous for being a horse jockey. I will say this, I don't think it's completely retconned or anything. I think there is small details here that get retconned later, because we go into depth into all the characters more further. Anyways, with his fame and riches, Johnny surrounds himself with women. We get a funny panel where it's was it the mayor's daughters?
I think it was just a millionaire's home.
Oh, just a random millionaires.
Yeah.
And they just basically, he puts on the fucking goofy ass smile. And he's like, what would you do? It was the best. But yeah, with one of these girls, I think a different girl from these two.
Yeah, new girl.
Johnny got around.
Yeah, pretty much.
He basically stopped by a play that had a huge line, and even though he didn't really want to watch it, he basically cut the line because his girl wanted to, and he just paid off security with his riches. But they cut in front of a boy who had been waiting there all night, and based on his design, he seems to be a lot lower class than him.
Mm-hmm.
And in a moment of desperation, the boy took out a pistol and just shot Johnny in the abdomen. And Johnny loses his ability to walk.
Dude, okay, to be fair, Johnny in this scene is like, he has too much confidence in his status.
He's a bit of a douchebag.
Yeah, he's a douchebag.
Sure.
But it also hurts to see because he didn't want to go see that fucking play. His girl wanted to see it, and then his girl also mentioned, hey, I think there's a spot in the front of the line where we could cut. And so they took it. And he got fucking shot for it. Like, bro didn't deserve that.
It was over something so small. But basically, Johnny wakes up after getting shot in a hospital, and he's realized he's paralyzed from the waist down. And he also notices that one of the nurses is stealing the blood from his legs, since Johnny can't do anything to stop him.
Fucked up.
And the nurse basically walks up to Johnny and just like beats him up, like chokes him with the newspaper.
Dude, he walks over and like he smothers the newspaper in his face, like saying that like his father hasn't come, his girlfriend's probably getting cozy with someone else. Oh my god, this nurse needs to be fired.
Yeah, no, for real. But he can just do this, I guess.
Yep.
And that kind of concludes the backstory. But I think, honestly, this backstory is like just so interesting, and it's so different from what we've seen in other JoJos. Out of every JoJo, Johnny is easily the most snobby, rich kid, like unlikable character. And I like how that gives him room to grow. But I find what I love about his backstory is that basically everyone in his life is just completely fake. And even though he lives this like super rich, pampered life, his father doesn't really care about him. He only cares about his status as a jockey. You know, the women in his life also only care about his money and his status. He has no true friends. That's why no one at all in his entire life came to see him when he was in the hospital. Yeah. And even though Johnny is a bit of a dick, you can understand his position because everything in his life except for horse racing has just been fake base level shit. His only true passion, which he can't even do anymore, which is riding horses, that was also, just taken from him. But yeah, after this, we cut back to Johnny touching Gyro's balls.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the context.
That is the context.
So him touching Gyro's steel ball basically had him stand up for a second. And it just kind of gave Johnny a taste of him going back to his old life. So it basically starts Johnny's obsession with learning how he can use Gyro's steel balls. I'm trying to say it in a way that isn't horrendous.
It's hard.
Very Brokeback Mountain. So Johnny goes up to Gyro and he's very adamant about Gyro teaching him what happened, and Gyro just kind of brushes him off. And the chapter ends with Gyro using the spin to put Johnny's hand onto a roof, so he just hangs there, which is kind of fucked up.
Dude, it looked gross because once he touches the steel ball again and his fingers twist, and then that's when Gyro puts him up on the rooftop. The spin's gross.
I like what you said about Junji Ito, because the spin does feel very Junji Ito.
Yeah, it's a
kind of
Uzumaki, bro. Chapter 4 starts 3 hours before the race, with two men talking about the race and how 3,500 people are racing, which, by the way, is insane amount considering 500 was the expected amount. It's just a 3,000 more, not terrible. But yeah, with that many people, it will turn this race from just a sport to straight up survival in order to win. We then see Gyro in his tent with all of his belongings. He has some awesome belongings. But he's realizing that he did not pack lightly. He packed very heavy. And so he's tossing stuff such as his toothbrush and toilet paper. But
this man is stinky, bro.
I could use a leaf. But packing a stuffed bear. And yeah, you're right about him being the most cornball because
I love how he tosses out scissors, which could be so important, but in the same panel he stuffs a fucking teddy bear. That's necessary. That shit is so funny, and I love his face during it so much. He's so inquisitive on which one to keep.
It's a tough decision, but he has a knife, so the scissors gotta go.
He's so satisfied with his choice too.
Look at that grin. But he walks out of his tent and sees a wheelchair toppled over near the horse fences, where he looks up and sees Johnny being dragged on the floor by a horse as he is struggling to try to get on it. Gyro walks over to the fences as the two men start making fun of Johnny. And we see that Johnny is injured. He has a fucking stick in his leg. So he's been at this for a while. They also happen to mention that this horse is really old, and even if Johnny is capable of getting on the horse, they doubt the horse will even listen to him. Johnny gets trampled and even more bloodied, and then the men say that he should be stopped, asking Gyro for his opinion on the matter. Gyro says he doesn't really care, and that if someone in Johnny's condition couldn't ride a horse, he would have to be superhuman.
Can we talk about that for a second? Gyro, for some reason, he says things like this more than once when he's talking about abilities and stuff, and people being superhuman. Mind you, I mean, we're gonna get to it, but Gyro teaches Johnny how to ride his horse, right? So what do you mean? That have to make him superhuman? You clearly know how to help him and stuff, and it's Gyro has the spin, which is this ability that clearly most people don't have, and it's just interesting. I don't even know what that says about his character. It's just something I noticed.
We then see Sandman walk up to Gyro and ask for directions to sign up for the race. And Gyro points the direction, showing some sort of sportsmanship, respect. They all, even though they're all trying to win, they have courtesy. At least Gyro does. We then cut to Sandman paying for a spot in the race and he plops a bag of sand, which initially pisses off the entry clerk, but then Sandman from, I don't know, kind of afar, blows the bag, making the sand spill out, and reveals this super shiny emerald, which excites the entry clerk, making him examine it deeply. We then see the sand that Sandman blew start to crawl up and go into the clerk's eyes. This is showing more of his stand, which is a little bit more. I love how mysterious this part is being with the stands. In part 3, when stands are introduced, it is, I guess, kind of mysterious, but it's really Jotaro being this ghost is not letting me kill myself. This one, we're getting a slow build up to what stands are.
There's a lot of things being hinted here that just kind of add a mystery to the race, and I think it's just done well.
Yeah, so the clerk kind of asks for, he needs the horse's muzzle print before he starts, and Sandman, the fucking goat he is nah, I'm planning on racing on my feet. Okay.
So badass.
Not needing a horse to win. We then cut to 30 minutes before the race, and everyone is getting set up and ready, and we see Steven Steele on stage making a speech about this trophy and how it is submerged in ice from the South Pole and will be transported to New York on locomotive, and how it is designed to melt by the time the racers reach the finish line. I don't know. I included all that because I just think that's cool. Cool premise, cool idea. You can see the amount of showmanship that Steven Steele has. But yeah, so we cut to see all the front runners lined up, ready to race, and we see.
Wait, side note, real quick. I fucking love the panel of all the racers, and they're just yelling. It's so awesome. I love it.
Yeah, and we see Johnny slowly pulling up next to Gyro on the starting line, still bloodied and still being dragged by his horse.
It's kind of funny.
His head is just being dragged across the floor.
I love how his horse just probably did that on its own without Johnny's.
Johnny had no input, just the horse just knew.
The horse is we signed up for this race, didn't we?
Johnny then shouts at Gyro, saying he will learn his secret for the spin, and Gyro looks down at him and compliments him on the choice of horse, saying since it's old, it won't be reckless like the younger horses, and also for that reason giving him a hint for the spin. As he says that, the race is about to start, and Johnny waits for the horse to then lick his face, allowing him to spin and land on top of the horse just in time for the start of the race. And that is where the chapter ends. I do have a few questions because there's a few things I do want to talk about. It being that I love how this is a comparison to Zeppeli from part 1, teaching Jonathan how Haman works. I just want your input on what spin is, because at this moment I'm lost.
Okay.
I know it's weird, whatever, but anyone can do it, I guess. It seems, because Gyro taught Johnny, but also at the same time, I'm confused on what it is still.
Okay, I'll give a little explanation because they do go into more detail later in the part. Spin is, the counterpart to Hamon. it's kind of this like force that exists, and it's literal spin. And in the future, they go into the golden ratio, because the golden ratio is supposed to be like found all throughout nature. And basically, it's using that as a reference to spin something, to spin anything. His weapon is the steel ball, right?
Yeah.
But the steel ball has nothing to do with the spin. It's just a random steel ball. It's Gyro who knows how to use the spin.
So yeah, I guess okay, that gives better context and understanding on what spin is.
Okay, so the race starts off, and Steele lays out some like more exposition to the spectators about the event.
They are like currently Steel and like all the spectators are on this train watching the race from kind of afar, mentioning how there's a route outline, how there are 9 predetermined checkpoints requiring them to hit each one, and the first one being a short sprint to the Catholic mission.
And he explains how essentially there's a time bonus for every single checkpoint along the race. The number 1 in each stage gets a 1-hour time bonus. So very useful to actually win. So the racers head off, and almost immediately, Gyro just sprints ahead of all the other racers,
Yep.
which is just the biggest risk for no reason.
I was gonna say, I loved how like Johnny is like immediately you can see he's like shocked by this. Like honestly, Johnny is like more of a speedwagon in these chapters. I'm not gonna lie, right? So he's just in the background, more commentating on what people are doing. But it's cool to see because it does show his like horse prowess by knowing what type of horse Gyro Zeppeli has, and knowing that like this horse has like incredible endurance.
But as Gyro sprints off, a couple of racers challenge Gyro's position, and it's both Diego and Avdol. We get to see Johnny trying to sprint up the match Gyro speed as well, and he like does the dash between racers, like causing 2 to crash in behind him, which I just thought looked super cool. It just causes a pile up immediately. But yeah, the 2 racers pursue Gyro, and Avdol is riding a camel.
I love that.
It's so cool. I love how all the racers have different strategies and stuff. And his strategy is just because camels are so gigantic, he's just going to trample on everyone else. Unfortunately, because I love Avdol, he kind of gets shafted pretty early on. So as Avdol rides his camel following Gyro, he rams into Gyro's horse, and in response, Gyro throws a steel ball into a rock. And this part is a little confusing.
Yeah, I'd agree.
It like manipulates the sand so that Avdol would try to dodge cacti that wasn't there, except it was there like a little bit further past that.
It was like he sends out his steel ball to hit a rock and create like an illusion of a cacti or of cacti from the sand, which like made Avdol like overcorrect into real cacti.
Yeah.
It's a little confusing. I'm curious on how they adapt that into anime.
I think they could probably change that into it being something else, because that doesn't make the most.
That's like this is legitimately the reason why I was like, hey, so what is spin really?
This ability I don't think ever comes back into play. So like my only guess is like the sand. I don't even know.
Yeah, it happens.
Anyways, Avdol gets taken out the race almost immediately. Rest in peace. He didn't die, but I'm sorry, Avdol.
They announced Avdol gets eliminated, which I think is so like I didn't know there was eliminations.
Yeah, that is weird. I know there is certain rules, like if you try to get any resources from the spectators, like if you're dying of hunger or thirst, then you're eliminated. I guess it just means that Avdol and his horse are just decommissioned, and they're just not going to be able to race again.
Damn. Yeah.
Which
What's up with his hate towards fucking Avdol? Like in part 3, he was not the most he was not the most useful JoJo side character.
He was dead for so much of that part. Yeah, I'm sorry, Avdol. Justice for Avdol, honestly. And Gyro just says, except for disease, I'll take anything I can get. Which, okay. And, he's out there for that time bonus, and he gives another Nyaho. That's the end of the chapter, so.
Chapter 6 starts with continuing the race with Gyro, who is still in lead, and Diego, who is not too far behind. We get Johnny observing again, noticing that Diego is shifting back and forth, and suddenly he disappears and reappears side by side with Gyro.
Side note, I love how his hat just has Dio. I wonder who this could be.
Yeah, We learn that Diego has been analyzing Gyro's horse's habits so that he can find an opening to crawl his way past. Gyro's horse's opening being every 8th breath, he sways slightly to the left, making him lose a little bit of speed for a moment. Also, by the way, that's gotta be something. No way, a normal person can do that.
Like ultra advanced.
Like when you not like, it sounds nerdy as hell. Like every 8th breath, your horse moves left.
It's insane. Like I don't know enough about horseback racing to say how
No.
legit this stuff is.
I've been on a horse twice in my life, so yeah. Diego keeps gaining distance and approaching a bridge, mocking Gyro, which managed to allow Gyro to realize his horse has a tell. I don't know exactly how he learned that, but maybe just the look.
It's because he's a good horseback racer.
Of course, yeah.
I wonder if this is actually like a thing in horseback racing. Like that's just because there's so many like techniques here. That's either Rocky just made this shit up and he's just very creative, or he like knows more about horseback racing than I could ever know.
I could not tell you because like it seems too specific to be real, but at the same time I'm questioning it because it seems like a real thing that people would think about. Like maybe it obviously probably over exaggerated a ton, but like I'm sure I can tell this horse is limping, so if I use this limp, this is how I pass by. I don't know. But yeah, so they get onto the bridge and Diego is currently in the lead, and Gyro uses his steel balls and places them onto the horse's back legs to boost the horse forward and lean into his bad habit, making him lean harshly to the left, pushing past Diego, forcing Diego to not go any further because they're now in front of him, and also destroying the bridge in the process, forcing Diego to have to backtrack and be put at a huge disadvantage.
Gyro is just aura farmed the entire time.
He has. Every scene he's in, he's just like, he knows he's the coolest character. We then cut to Poco Loco, who has now just woken up. He's late to the race, giving him a massive disadvantage. But thanks to his luck, the ground has been super flattened due to the other riders earlier, giving him easy terrain to ride through. And that is the end of the chapter.
Fuck this guy.
The laziest motherfucker gets the easiest ride.
Yeah.
And it continues with chapter 7, yeah.
Yeah, we continue. Poco Loco just takes the easiest route ever that was just flattened for him. And he's on his way trying to catch up with the other races, and he passes by these two men who tried to use an automobile, and they just didn't realize that gas was going to be an issue because they're stupid.
I love how it was announced in like chapter 1, and we're seeing it again.
But Poco Loco catches up to the rest of the group already, and we get this kind of weird scene where horse shit gets into his mouth and like onto other racers next to him, and a gold coin appears in his mouth from the
horse shit.
And then like another girl next to him, her blouse rips open. It's just a weird scene.
It's a wild scene, but it's kind of like, I don't know, it's like, God damn it, Poco Loco. Because he's like, I am lucky. It's like, fuck you. You're having it too easy. Bro, one person's fucking disabled and he doesn't have legs to work with.
His ass got dragged into the horse race and you're over here and you just got luck. I will say, I don't know how I feel about yo 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 being his catchphrase.
Oh yeah, he does say yo yo yo, doesn't he?
Yeah, a little interesting. Take that as you will. But after that, we get to see Sandman lead a bunch of racers straight towards a ravine that they can't pass, but he can. And he just straight up jumps off to the other side and starts climbing the wall. And Poco Loco follows behind, and he's just so confident in his luck, he jumps off the ravine.
Fucking insane.
And he doesn't quite make the landing, but before he and his horse can fall into the ravine, Sandman gives him some advice to pull himself up with his horse.
Yeah, with like the lasso.
And Poco Loco takes the advice and lifts himself out, and he makes the shortcut. And, you know, this is another instance of like camaraderie between racers, and it's from my goat, Sandman. One small thing, just looking through the chapters, Sandman backflips, or front flips onto a wall. I'm pretty sure he does. Wait, let's see. Yeah, he does.
He totally does.
Yeah, that's fucking awesome.
God, I love Sandman, bro.
He's so fucking cool.
Poco Loco and Sandman managed to catch up to the other racers. And Poco Loco is right next to Johnny.
Oh yeah, and Johnny kind of like looks at him like honestly, like that's his face right there is the perfect example of how I feel
Yep.
about Poco. But yeah, Johnny, thinks to himself and he basically decides that in order to learn about the spin, he has to win Gyro's respect by winning this checkpoint. And with Gyro still in the lead, Gyro decides to take a shortcut through dangerous brush, which is kind of sick because I love how like geography is used here, like with the whole
Yep.
ravine and the brush. It's so dynamic and cool. And of course, Gyro's going for the risky path. So Johnny and Poco Loco follow him into it because Poco Loco is like, I'm the luckiest man ever. Just wants to prove himself. So I love the dynamic of how Johnny, he sees Gyro do something stupid and he's like, well, now I have to do the same thing because otherwise I'm going to lose.
Yeah, so we see Gyro take the sharp right into the forest, and, Johnny, Poco Loco follow. More people follow from behind, and we see Gyro, like, kind of dodging tree branches left and right, in which we cut to Poco Loco, who just decides to close his eyes with confidence and just sprints headfirst into the forest. Okay.
Screw this guy. Yeah, he just like fully commits to the luck bit.
I
Like,
know. I actually want to quickly say Poco Loco has like the number 777,
lucky numbers.
which is the lucky numbers, yeah.
I didn't notice that.
So that's
kind of
cool.
sick. Yeah, I like that a lot, actually. That's cool. But that leads into chapter 8.
Okay, the chapter starts with Johnny following behind Poco Loco when we cut to see a bunch of racers behind them who are all comedically struggling and failing to go through this forest, getting hit by branches or failing to cut through them.
Monty Python type humor.
But yeah, Poco Loco, he keeps his eyes closed, allowing his horse to do all the traversing, which honestly, actually, kind of a smart move. I mean, if you trust your horse enough, that makes sense. I mean, I wouldn't keep my eyes closed, but, allowing the horse to do all the work works.
Yeah, just like going slow and steady would probably be a good idea.
Johnny pushes forward, jumping on and over a tree branch that then smacks Poco Loco on the face, making him fall off his horse. We cut to Gyro now, who is still in the lead, looking back and hearing noises. He keeps looking behind him, and he eventually sees a runaway horse. But then on closer inspection, we see Poco Loco being dragged, staying with the horse only by his foot stuck onto the foot handle of the saddle, which managed to help him zoom past Johnny and towards Gyro. This dude's fucking luck. It's unfair. But yeah, so Gyro uses his steel balls to be able to shift the trees directly in front of him to make a easier path, a like instant shot through.
This part is insane.
For him to go down, and only stopping the spin when Poco Loco comes through, closing the entrance, which smacks Poco Loco back onto his horse. We then see Gyro and Poco Loco to be the first of the group to come out of the forest, with Poco Loco coming in fast behind him. We're gonna probably mention this many times. Poco Loco is unfairly lucky. But yeah, that's the end of the chapter.
So we continue with chapter 9. Gyro and Poco Loco are still in the lead. The front runners come up upon like a steep slope to the finish line.
It's called the Devil's Descent.
Pretty badass, honestly. And the strategy here is basically conserve your horse's stamina right until the final stretch. Because you're going downhill, you don't have to put as much energy in. Which again, I love the strategy used. Like the horse riding aspect of this part just feels like so much attention has been paid to it, and I love that.
Yeah, the horse racing is like forefront right now, and I love that.
Yeah, and as they race, and a couple of riders appear from out of the forest, Poco Loco starts to see a weird thing talk to him. And this like small goblin creature turns out to be his stand, which I don't know if it says it here, but his stand is called Heya, I'm pretty sure.
That's awesome.
And it's interesting how this is the first stand introduction, when most parts start by showing the main character's stand first. But again, I just like how this adds mystery, around the main plot on like, what the hell is this thing?
I want to say, like, I love like how mysterious it is. Like they don't even directly tell you what the stand does. They just like leave it to show instead of straight up tell.
The racers continue as Poco Loco and Gyro talk shit to each other. Poco Loco decides to just speed up super early, and Gyro like doesn't take the bait. He like maintains his stamina. We get an internal monologue, and he's trying to not have Poco Loco get in his head. And as they descend, there's the pileup from a bunch of racers, just at the final stretch who are like forcing their horses to go too fast, which I think is super cool. So essentially, Pocoloco's horse, he, speeds up super early and his horse just gets so tired and it becomes exhausted and essentially throws Pocoloco off to the side of the ground. But since Pocoloco is just the luckiest man on earth, he happens to fall on a cow corpse. And this basically means he gets to slide down the slope while his horse regains stamina, which is just completely unfair. As Pocoloco is doing this, Sandman basically jumps off the side of a cliff back onto the race, and in response to Pocoloco, Gyro sends his steel ball at the mountain so he can hit a boulder into Pocoloco, essentially. But it's the same rock that Sandman jumps off of, so it doesn't work out for Gyro.
Yeah, like Sandman like pushes it down, making it like fall late.
But Sandman jumps off the cliff and ends up in the lead.
Yep.
And that's the end of that chapter.
But yeah, just kind of a fun chapter. I don't really think we see Johnny very much in this one. It's kind of interesting how backlined Johnny is.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, that's something Araki has done throughout the parts, I think. Like with Giorno, like Josuke giving them more sideline as like main characters. Like it feels like all the characters are even, or I guess on the same turf, so that even though Johnny's the main character, plot armor in a sense is lowered a lot because all the other characters are given similar amounts of time. And not only that, the stakes aren't just their lives, it's their position in the race. Since all the characters get like kind of equal screen time, it's like you genuinely don't know who's going to win or not. And I love that aspect a lot. It gives a lot of tension to like the actual race aspect of this part.
Chapter 10 starts with Steven Steele on the train watching the events go down. People spectating are shocked at how Sandman is in first place considering the lack of horse. And this
I would be too.
Yeah, me too. And this is when Steele mentions how it's typically impossible to be faster than a horse on a flat racetrack. But since Sandman is taking hills in his path and his form is different than usual, he's using the fall impact redirected into his toes to propel himself forward, gaining even more speed, that it's possible. Okay.
I have no idea if that has any scientific backing whatsoever. I looked it up and I couldn't find anything necessarily. I guess my best guess, not knowing enough, is that it is possible. It's just you basically have to have superhuman strength to do that, like the technique that Sandman's using.
Jumping down mountains? Yeah.
Yeah, because he's putting all the force into the mountains instead of his body, which means he has to I don't know. It's insane, but it's, JoJo, so you get detailed explanations for the fantastical stuff.
But yeah, the racers make it past the downward slope and Jero gets suspicious of Pocoloco. Something seems to be helping him with all of his coincidences.
Some kind of ability.
Pocoloco takes his stand's advice again and sprints on ahead, which Gyro follows at full speed and pushes right past him. Even though it is typically too early to do so, their horses will get tired.
I like his reasoning behind this, where he's just like I'm not going to win if I just stare at his ass the entire time.
It's a good reasoning. They make it to the final stretch of the race, and we see this massive crowd of people, roughly 20,000 of them, rooting the racers on to make it to the finish line. 20,000 is fucking crazy for this church mission place. You wouldn't expect it.
And you see flags from all around the world too.
You see the shock in Steele's face, how impactful this race actually is, and even his wife saying that the winner of this race will be considered a hero. We cut to Johnny, who is reassuring and complimenting his horse and is preparing for a full sprint to try to catch up to the front runners when he notices a Diego Brando sneaking up past the pack by drafting, which is a technique that uses the horse in front as wind resistance to avoid their horse's fatigue.
Okay, that is real.
That one's a real one. Sure. I know that one, yeah. And Johnny, he refuses to let this happen to him and just charges full sprint towards Gyro as well as Pocoloco. And the chapter ends. I love seeing Diego be kind of the we don't really have our antagonists are Pocoloco and Diego in a sense, but it is always oh, what's gonna happen whenever Diego just pops on screen. I don't know. I like how much impact he has on the race.
But yeah, we go to chapter 11 now, the final stretch.
All right, so chapter 11 starts with, everyone nearing the finish line.
And the 2-page spread is so good.
Dude, I love the like how they have to point out which racer is which too.
Like, that's a thing for this entire chapter, honestly, is just the 2-page spreads are used so well.
Oh, totally.
I feel like you get to see all the action in its glory, which is awesome.
We cut to Johnny, who is still trying to fight Diego off from behind him. And so he makes his horse jump into the mud and kick rocks right at Diego to slow him down, which makes Diego understand and realize that this person in front of him, Johnny, is actually a professional. He knows what he's doing.
I love that detail because earlier when Gyro was riding his horse, Diego made a note in his brain how Gyro was an amateur, and just from how Johnny is riding, you can tell Johnny is a professional. I just love that small detail, like how he can just tell based on how they ride their horse.
But yeah, so you see many horses are getting super exhausted, including even Gyro's and Pocoloco's horses. And some horses completely stopping and refusing to keep running. Pocoloco stand, then tells him to go left while yelling, yo, yo, yo. And we see Sandman coming down from the rocks and taking lead again.
Dude, this shit is so exciting. Because of the setup, you genuinely don't know who's going to win.
But we go back to Diego and Johnny racing neck to neck, and the 4 riders they've now caught up to each other and are now gunning to the finish line neck to neck, trying to get to Sandman. And we see Sandman like internally monologuing, thinking to himself about his ancestors and family to gather the strength to win this race.
Dude, the art's so good here.
When all of a sudden Pocoloco sprints ahead after listening to a stand and hits a dead tree like a springboard in order to take the lead, which is it's short-lived as Gyro sprints right past him, complimenting Johnny for keeping up so well to him while mentioning about how he is using his cape, and the reason why he's able to even sprint this fast and so far after all this exhaustion from his horse is by using his cape as a ship sail, which flies him into victory while he holds his fist in the air.
So awesome.
And yeah, the chapter ends.
That's probably my second favorite chapter so far, honestly. Like, everything was paid off here. The tension was so good. Like, the paneling was amazing. It was just so good.
Yeah, it really is just like so incredible.
So yeah, to finish this off, bonus chapter, the tale of how the Steel Ball Run race came to be. This bonus chapter covers the story of how Stephen Steele ended up creating the Steel Ball Run race. It starts from the beginning of his life as a poor Irish immigrant. When he was 15, he fell in love with a girl. Unfortunately, this love was ended by her death in a carriage accident. I don't know how often deaths from carriage accidents, but this seems kind of just like a car crash, but like 1800s coded. He would then become a soldier because of his depression. And before he could fight in battle, he got sick and was quarantined. Now we get a timeline of just like significant events in his life that led to the creation of the Steel Ball Run race. First, he ran a circus like act dressed as an Asian man, which led to him becoming the star of the whole circus. While touring the country, with his circus, he developed many new attractions that were all pretty much successful. Eventually, however, he would end up becoming a dictator over the circus, and this caused a falling out that ended up with him getting fired. He eventually became a boxer and a debt collector until he ran from the mob and went missing. Eventually, he reemerged in San Francisco and writes successful articles. He would for a few years promote attractions that were major hits, and this just led to his wealth. I will say I like how all these events were combined on one page. It's like shows the timeline and then shows like all these random stuff. This like random stuff happening, and when I looked at it before reading, it just looked like complete.
It was nonsense. Like nonsense, yeah.
And then one day a man shaved a monkey and called it an alien. But even though Steele had no connection, he was called a fraud for it for some reason. Even though the public confidence in him was low, he came up with an idea for a cross-country horse race. And during one of these days, he got drunk and this girl came up to him, who was Lucy, and told him that he should make the prize pool gigantic for the winner. And he just laughed at her and just asked who would ever even like sponsor his idea. He woke up the next day after just passing out in the middle of the street, and it was just like a bunch of men surrounded in coats, and they asked to hear more about his idea and offered to sponsor him. Almost instantly, over 20 large companies would sponsor the race, which is
A
kind
lot.
of suspicious.
It is kind of weird.
Yeah. And a couple of years later, Steele would meet up with Lucy and her father, and he begged to marry her since she was the spitting image of his lost love. You know, cool, man. Good
Yeah.
for you, Steven.
Yeah.
Yeah, not gross at all.
Nah. Not.
That's the end of the second volume. And man, I just loved the beginning of the story, honestly. It's like just so fresh. And I just love what he's doing with the characters.
I genuinely think that we're in our final thoughts now, but I genuinely think that like this is the best introduction to like a JoJo part I've seen.
JoJo has good introductions.
Yeah, it does. I mean, part 2's introduction was excellent. This one was just like, I don't know, it just like stood out to me. It was so uniquely crafted while still like being loving to the genre it was trying to stick to. And the way, I think this is the best they've done by introducing side characters and giving them so much identity. And maybe that's me from like, you know, saying this because like I didn't entirely enjoy the side characters of part 6, but like these ones are so significantly better already, and we're only 11 chapters in, you know, so it was a very, very impressive start.
I like about it too is you could honestly just read these first 2 volumes and be satisfied with just these 2. Like you don't even have to read the rest if you don't want to, because it's just so solid. Yeah, it's such a new, fresh take on JoJo, and I think Araki by part 6 felt a little trapped in the universe he built up, which is why I think he went like about the reboot kind of path. And like every single part, Araki has to do something daring. Even from part 2, you kill off the main character and then replace him with a character who's like the opposite of him.
Yep.
Part 3, entire new power system. Part 4, entirely different vibe.
Basically entirely different genre.
Pretty much. I think that gives him just so much freedom. Like he doesn't have to just make something that ties to the base universe and make, you know, stand battle. It doesn't feel as formulaic, which I like. But yeah, you have any like more final parts on the manga? Your thoughts?
No, I don't think so. Besides, I'm excited to keep reading it.
Okay. So for the first 2 volumes, we're going to group every 2 volumes together because that's just how they're released. So here, because it's like so self-contained, I think I'm going to give this a solid, just a 9 for an introduction.
Okay.
I only have some complaints about like some exposition is a little, you know, takes up some time. Not terribly. The one scene with like the illusion shit just kind of made no sense. I just have some small nitpicks here and there, but like overall, I think it's like an incredibly strong start. And I think going into the future, we should like rank every 2 volumes like compared to each other, if that makes sense.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
I would agree. A 9.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I think it's...
Never agree with me at all, huh?
Nope, never. I've never done that in my life. Yeah, so I pretty much have the same like nitpicks and complaints that you do. Yeah, I think the only thing that I would probably add on to it, and it is mostly because of that like illusion voodoo magic, it makes it really confusing on what like spin is actually trying to be, and so yeah, that would be like a big hindrance on my complaints.
Yeah. Because I do like spin being a mystery, but it sucks when during a mystery you show something that kind of conflicts with what it actually is.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think that is it.
All right. We're going to be continuing with the series, so it should be a lot of fun.
Stay tuned. Yeah.
See you guys next time.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.